Hey everyone, and welcome back to the So Rude podcast. My name is Paige Ruderman, and I hope you're having a great day. This week, I'm going to explore the impact of how fairy tales and, through extension, songwriting can impact stress in a positive way. I don't think I've been this excited for a solo episode in a really long time. I get to blend my passion for songwriting and music with my background in science and well being. Recently, during episode 100, I shared how I had a life realization moment when chatting with a professional in the workplace about how I had unknowingly predicted my involvement with songwriting many years prior, way before I realized just how I would bring that to life. If you missed that episode, I strongly recommend you go back and check it out. It's pretty short, coming in under 12 minutes, and will be a great segue into this week's episode, and I'll have it linked down below. All right. So if you went and watched it, welcome back. If not, we're going to keep trucking. Now, shortly after that episode aired, I was cleaning out my desk when I came across a few flash drives. If you don't know what a flash drive is, clearly you were born in the era of cloud storage and streaming. But before there was online cloud storage, there was physical tech that allowed people to transport important documents and files. You can think of floppy disks or portable hard drives. So when I found these two flash drives, I plugged them into my computer and I found a bunch of old papers from when I was in college and graduate school. If you didn't know, I have a Master of Science. So during my graduate program, I took a class on stress, which is actually really crazy to think about because that was in the fall of 2018, way before you started seeing a lot of the general public and modern medicine professionals talking about the impact of stress in the human condition. So we're going back almost 6 years ago. That's kind of crazy. The structure of that stress class was that each week we focused on a different stress related topic. We would read anywhere from 4 to 8 research articles, and we would be writing papers about these concepts every week. Topics throughout those weeks covered a wide range of topics about stress, everything from work stress, relationships, financial stress, societal impacts. And interestingly, the week that stood out to me the most was fairy tales. So every week we're going through this 7 day turnaround. I'm basically like absorbing the information, regurgitating it in a way to meet the needs and moving on. But that week really stuck with me. And I found myself not really moving on to the next topic following week, even as we continued the class. Now, at the end of my graduate program, I had to complete what are called comprehensive exams. So these were exams I needed to take to basically justify I understand the information of the degree that I was receiving. And some of them were pre structured, and then you got to choose a final topic. And I decided to structure one of my comprehensive exams to revisit the topic of fairy tales and thus storytelling and their impact on stress and well being. I ended up writing a 10-page research paper on the topic, and I actually unearthed that same paper on my flash drive. After rereading it, I realized once again, I've kind of like premeditated this lane I was going to be going down as a songwriter. And I thought it would be a really fascinating topic to revisit this on the pod. One, because of the songwriting element, two, because of stress, and three, I thought it'd be slightly different. So, with that said, let's get into it. Stress is an emotion felt throughout the lifespan. Many different factors can cause stress, including work, family, school, and more. There are a variety of ways to counteract stress, such as yoga, exercise, meditation, medication, and therapy. However, one interesting and unconventional approach would be through the use of fairy tales and fictional stories. Fairy tales are stories told to children. They can appear in the form of books, movies, music, and oral storytelling. Through the stories, children are provided many benefits, including hope, escape from reality, and life lessons. Not only do stories provide an entertainment benefit, but fairy tales also provide a blueprint of how to deal with life's stressors. In the stories, the characters serve as role models of how to act when faced with a difficult challenge. Readers are given a bird's eye view of how to navigate complex problems. The stories and characters are so important to children that individuals actually remember their favorite stories well into adulthood. But in order to truly understand fairy tales and how they can impact life stress, it can be helpful to relate the plot of these stories to another framework. This is how those fairy tales can impact stress. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is an approach to understanding human needs. The five tiered pyramid shaped model was created in 1943 to depict exactly what individuals are missing from their lives. Each of the tiers represents a life stage with different needs. The needs defined actually motivate behavior. When an individual is in need of something on the pyramid, they will work to fulfill it. And in order to move up the levels, each need has to be met before they're able to move on. The five levels of the pyramid, moving from the base up, are psychological, safety, belonging and love, esteem, and self actualization needs. Interestingly, the way the model is set up mimics the story arches in some of the most popular fairy tales. Bruno Bettelheim was a scholar who spent his career examining the impact of fairy tales on children. He published a book in 1976 titled The Uses of Enchantment. In his writing, he spoke about the important factors that fairy tales provide and how those stories can help children throughout their lifespan. He had many important points. However, there were three key factors that seemed to top the list. He stated that fairy tales provided hope for a better future, the opportunity to escape from reality, and teaches skills and lessons to use throughout the lifespan. Providing hope for a better future was one factor Bettelheim stressed was extremely important for fairy tales to achieve. There are different ways to accomplish this task. However, the outcome was the same. By providing an opportunity to hope for a better future, it allows children to adapt the challenges that they are dealing with in the present. They can think to themselves, there is something better coming, so I'm able to handle what's happening right now. Without a hopeful wish to look forward to, children can become filled with despair due to their current situations. Bettelheim also discusses the importance of happy endings in fairy tale stories. Consolidations, or those happy endings, are vital for children because it teaches them that good things will happen in the end. Again, relating to that wish for a better tomorrow. Without the happy endings, children feel miserable and question their own lives. If their favorite storybook characters cannot find happiness, how in the world can they? For children, a variety of stressors can cause them to become pained. Bullying, challenging home lives, and feelings of being unloved are just a few that come to mind. But a hope for a better tomorrow should continue to be a piece of the fairy tale puzzle that remains the same. The next important experience fairy tales provide for children is the escape from reality. When children read fairy tales, they enter a world of fantasy and make believe. These worlds are often very different from the ones they live in their real lives. By entering a world of imagination, they're able to take just a brief emotional break from the challenges they face day to day. When they are allotted those emotional breaks, they can come back to their life stressors feeling refreshed and ready to tackle those problems once again. Eventually, the challenges will become too much to bear, which is when another fairy tale can provide release. The imaginary gratification the children feel from the fictional stories is just enough to appease them. While it would be wonderful to magically change their lives overnight, they recognize that magic happens in the world of fantasy and fairy tales, and they can appreciate those experiences in a safe space and then accept their real life for what it is. The third factor storybooks provide are skills to be used throughout the lifespan. In many fairy tales, the heroes in the story have to withstand challenges and stressors, just like those little readers hanging on to every word. The children watch characters attempt to solve complex problems. Afterwards, children are able to use those skills when facing the same challenge in their own lives. For example, one of the most common take home messages in fairy tales is that heroes can have the kingdom, but only through struggle and sacrifice. It helps to connect the readers who struggle with the characters who struggle. The skills the characters use to overcome challenges will be useful for the readers as well. Finally, it's important to note while the story may have intended skills and life lessons, the actual take home messages will vary per reader. The messages that resonate the most will depend on what the individual needs are, which also provides the added benefit of rewatching stories at different times in one's life so that different messages will stand out. Now, a lot of what I've spoken about, I then went to reiterate and expand in more detail when it came to those storybooks and movies. But I wanted to relate everything we just talked about to songwriting and music. So now that we've explored the psychological and behavioral implications of fairy tales on stress and the impact of Maslow's hierarchy of needs on one's well being, I wanted to connect the dots on how this relates to songwriting. Songs, or oral storytelling, is basically a fairy tale. Someone is creating a story with important plot points that help deliver a message to a listener. Music is created for all ages, from young children. You can think of songs like Baby Shark and other childhood TV shows like Clean Up from Barney, to older adults, which music has been shown to improve dementia patient symptoms, which is another fascinating topic on memory, music, and health. The added benefit that comes from music, which exceeds beyond just the written word or visual movie format, is the added layer of the sonic landscape. There's already science out there that delivers on why specific sounds, keys of songs, and the movement or direction of notes can cultivate a specific emotional response, which I won't be exploring on this week's episode. However, that research does exist. It's also why songs, even when in different languages, can still elicit a specific reaction when a listener is not a native speaker of the language. So, from a songwriting perspective, are we helping to curate and improve one's mood and health, and more specifically, stress levels? I argue yes. Let's talk directly to health and well being to start. How many people listening to the show, when they are going for a walk, to the gym, for a run, lifting weights, gardening outside, or engaging in a wide range of physical activities, decides to listen to music? I do. Dancers, runners, and other athletes incorporate music into their traditions, such as finding a running or cycling playlist that keeps the strike of the heel in time to a BPM, beats per minute, or tempo, which is the speed of the song, for the run they want to keep. A walk up song for at bat baseball players, a celebration song after a goal or scoring points in a football game. These cathartic releases expel happy hormones such as endorphins, dopamine, or serotonin, which increases the behavioral response to repeat these behaviors. When we like something, we want to do it again and again and again, which in turn creates a positive behavioral habit that can have a positive impact on one's well being. Beyond just physical wellness, mental health is also an important topic. Individuals today connect frequently online with others experiencing a similar situation to them, which in turn helps the listeners not feel so alone if they're struggling with a specific health or life challenge. When songwriters or artists share their messages online through social media or forums, and other members of that tribe or community can find those messages and they can resonate with them, it can increase one's feeling of belongingness or decrease their feelings of isolation, which in turn improves their health measures. One of the biggest challenges facing older adults in today's society is the feeling of isolation, which is often due to lack of physical mobility and decreasing social circles. These emotional responses plummet their health and wellness, and we see significant declines in a lot of those metrics. So, if we, as songwriters, poets, artists, can help address those same feelings of isolation in individuals facing an increasing amount of illness, disease, and other stressors throughout the lifespan, then just imagine the impact we can have on a society through our creativity. And of course, to bring it all home, back to fairy tales. There are so many songs I can specifically tie to specific moments in my own timeline and different actions I took afterwards. I might not have directly connected to the specific language of the song or the identical lyrical content. However, I related enough to the narrator that I can learn as a listener from the song. For example, I can't go this long into a show about storytelling without bringing up one of my favorite lyricists of all time. All Too Well from Taylor Swift, the 10-minute version, Taylor's version, written by Taylor Swift and Liz Rose, is a great example of listening to a song and learning life messages. Or So Sick, performed by Neo, written by Tor Eric Hermanson, Michael Storler Erickson, and Neo. And if I mispronounce any of those names, I apologize. In both of these stories, the narrator is telling the story of what they are doing now or reflecting on their past relationships and how to try and move on, from changing the answering machine so that way he doesn't keep calling the same home number to hear the person's voice, or reflecting on experiences with introducing a relationship partner to your parents and how that can go and what you can learn from that moving forward. I also think about songs like Touch My Body, performed by Mariah Carey, written by Mariah Carey, Crystal, Nicole, The Dream, and Tricky Stewart, or The Worst Way, written and performed by Riley Green. In these stories, the narrator tells the love interest on how to elevate the sensual relationship between them, what they're looking for out of their partner. Even political or societal statements like Good News Sold, performed by Jordan Davis, written by Cole Taylor, Jacob Davis, and Jordan Rowe, a song about how important the news is to our conscious and as a society and the way we act based off of what we're hearing and being confronted with everywhere from the written newspaper to things that we scroll past online. That was just a quick scroll through my music playlist. Imagine just how many songs, stories, messages exist to help us listeners interpret these fairy tales or oral storytelling, which improves our stress response. I think a lot about what happened in the early pandemic when people were stuck at home and they turned to art and creativity to express themselves and to handle the life stressors that they were experiencing, which is a global wide pandemic that was impacting the health of their family and loved ones. We turned to movies, we turned to songs, we turned to art, we turned to writing, we turned to podcasts or videos online. It's just a great reminder that we as humans are seeking out a place to belong, a place to feel understood, and a way to work through our more complex emotions. And in today's environment where we are stressed out the wazoo way more than ever before, this is an opportunity to use music to our advantage. And as songwriters and as artists, it's an opportunity for us to basically share these are the things that I've gone through. Can someone else learn from it too? Of course, we all balance that tightrope of making it not super preachy, but I think that's a task that songwriters and artists are up to facing. Overall, fairy tales provide the perfect roadmap to helping individuals recognize how to deal with life stress. The benefits provided, such as hope for the future, escape from reality, and teaching life skills, helps viewers, or in our case, listeners, deal with the challenges they face in their own lives. While fairy tales were created for children, the value offered are not limited to just those 10 and younger. Adults can also benefit from exposure to fairy tales. They might just not appear in the same way. Inspirational tales help to remind adults not to forget their dreams and how to overcome struggle. The fantasy offered through the medium of songs and music allow adults to escape the stressors of their lives and immerse themselves in an enjoyable distraction, at least for a little while. Learning to deal with stress is an important topic, as the emotion does not disappear as one ages. Finding the right approach will help make the biggest difference. Yoga, exercise, therapy, and meditation are wonderful techniques, but the illustrations fairy tales provide, and in our case, songwriting, help to practice life lessons in a safe and controlled environment. So I appreciate you letting me dive into my nerdy science side. It's something that is a small part of my background and I don't get to use too much in my day to day anymore. So I thought it was fun to try and blend these two worlds. And I'd love to hear from you. What songs came to mind that you immediately thought of examples of? I listen to this song when I'm stressed out with this, and it helps me overcome that challenge. I think about like the Rocky song when the guy's running up the steps of Independence Hall. There are so many ways songs can impact behavior. And can we channel some of that in the work and the art that we create? If you're not already, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at sorude.podcast. We have broken into the world of video, so make sure to find the YouTube channel. Everything is going to be linked down below. And I'd love to hear if this episode resonated with you, if it was an interesting take on songwriting, and if there's anything I may have missed that came to mind as you were listening to the show of how songwriting and music can impact our stress and well being in a positive manner. As always, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll chat with you soon. Bye now.